Mephiles the Dark, Memphis, Tennessee, is the greatest villain in the Sonic series. Yeah, I said it. Out of all the villains, Mephiles is on top. He has an insane amount of power, he's intelligent, and really stands out above villains like Chaos, Metal Sonic, and even Dr. Eggman himself. And when he made his comeback in Sonic X Shadow Generations, you already know I was. Yeah, baby! However, under all the hype surrounding me playing this boss fight, I can't help to notice a shift with Mephiles as a character, like this desperation feeling in his tragic fate in-universe and out-of-universe in the series. What do I mean by that? Well, that's what I'm going to discuss in this video. Let's get into it!
Absolute peak of human perfection. But there came a day when giant quakes threatened to destroy Krypton forever.
6 schools in 6 years. I've activated my 6th sense for 16 years. Emperor of the sea, I've activated my 6th gear. I want to rule the world just like I'm Tears for Fear. I'm shifting gears. I went from hell and back across, and now I'm sitting Monica's pier. A battle with temptation, Hades never thought it was real. Oracle told me that she foreseen a snake, I'm a sphere. Lucky I'm a son, I strike him down with Poseidon's spear. And when I'm inside, I strike them down with Riptide. No time for getting lost, no trees on this hillside.
Before we get into the tragic fate of Mephiles, what do we know about this villain? He was one of the 2 halves in order to create the Solaris project, with the other half being Iblis, the being who would destroy Silver's timeline. However, traveling back into the past 10 years, Shadow the Hedgehog sealed Mephiles away in the Scepter of Darkness so he could never escape again, or so we thought, because Mephiles would make a promise to remember who Shadow was if he ever comes back for revenge, and that alone is what makes him stand out amongst other Sonic villains. You see, every villain in the series has something tied to Sonic, or Sonic has encountered them in some way, shape, or form. Eggman is Sonic's arch nemesis. Chaos is a water god who, yes, is tied to the Echidna tribe Sonic encounters first and last in Sonic Adventure 1. Metal Sonic is Sonic's robot copy with the sole purpose of defeating him. Tien, who is tied to the Ancients, Sonic encounters throughout the entirety of Frontiers. And Dark Gaia is a being Sonic encounters as well. Mephiles is different. He's not Sonic's villain, he's Shadow's. He is the one he got beef with because he was the one who sealed him away without being complete. Until 10 years later, after Team Dark's encounter with Eggman, Shadow accidentally drops the scepter, releasing Mephiles, gaining the form of, and stay with me here, Shadow's Shadow, and becoming a physical form of Shadow's Shadow. He's doing all this to try to get revenge on Shadow, but during this encounter, he thanks him for releasing him. Now I want you guys to pay attention to this line he says because this will be important later on.
Who are you? And how do you know my name?
I'm Mephiles. Mephiles the Dark. What? Did you forget me? I owe much to you, Shadow. Oh yes.
This is another reason why I like Mephiles so much as a villain. It's always like he's 2 steps ahead from everyone else, and here's how. So after that, he teleports to Silver's future, where Iblis had already destroyed his world. See, Mephiles not only want to get revenge on Shadow, but also want to become one with Iblis, and in order to do so, he needs to release the Flames of Disaster, aka Iblis. However, 10 years ago, Iblis was stored away inside this young girl who would be Princess Elise. The reason why Mephiles went to the future is to manipulate Silver into thinking the cause of the destruction of his world happening is Sonic, being the Iblis trigger. And Silver, with no question, trusts this random person and follows the objective of killing Sonic for destroying his world. But Mike, what about Elise? Well, this is where things get interesting. Because in order for Iblis to be released once more, Elise will need to cry. And for her to cry, someone has to be killed near and dear to her. And that person would be Sonic, considering the time the two spent with each other. So Mephiles manipulated Silver to think Sonic was the cause of the destruction of his world, which causes Silver to attempt to kill Sonic in many of their encounters. See how I said Mephiles was always 2 steps ahead? Anyways, this is where shit was starting to get real. Because when Shadow encounters Mephiles again, Just like him manipulating Silver, he's manipulating Shadow, trying to force him back to his old ways since Sonic Adventure 2, and trying to get Shadow to team up with Mephiles to punish the world of humanity. Because of his character growth, Shadow refuses the offer and says that he will determine his own destiny. This caused Mephiles to go to his final form, fighting Shadow. After his defeat, Mephiles travels to the present day, escaping again. Shadow fights Mephiles again for the second time with the help of Rouge and Omega. However, over time, Mephiles has gotten more and more stronger. When Shadow attempts to seal Mephiles away once more with the scepter, it failed because now he has gone stronger. Not only that, but with 2 Chaos Emeralds, he's able to create an army of his clones. Once again, with Mephiles trying to manipulate Shadow, this line right here signifies the growth of Shadow the Hedgehog at this point in the series.
It's futile. The world will betray you. Why fight at all? Why risk your life for those who will persecute you later?
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
With Shadow taking both of his limiter rings off, he was fueled with a boost of power, blitzing through all of his clones with Rouge and Omega by his side. That's poetic in the context of Shadow's development in this game. But back to Mephiles. So after his defeat, Mephiles survived, and after getting beaten so many times, he pulled a Thanos and said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And here's what happened.
Sonic!
Mephiles kills Sonic. This is another reason why he's the top villain, because he is the only villain ever in the entire series to kill Sonic the Hedgehog. Elise cries over the death of Sonic, and Mephiles just laughs while Elise cries her heart out. See, this is why you're my favorite villain. Mephiles is someone with no remorse. He's just cold-hearted with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He just wants to see the world burn, literally. Hi, so remember how I said if Elise cries, the flames of disaster will be released? Well, it's been released due to Elise's tears, and Mephiles is now becoming one with Iblis, creating Solaris. His plan succeeded, causing destruction to the present day as well. However, due to the power of the Chaos Emeralds and Elise's kiss, Sonic was brought back to life in his super form, and along with the help of Shadow and Silver in their super forms, the three took down Solaris. This is where I say the tragic fate of Mephiles lies, not just by defeating Solaris, but something much more than that. After Solaris' defeat, it's been reduced back into a flame. With Elise blowing out the flame, that means the events of 06 never happened. Stuff like her encounter with Sonic, Silver's introduction, and Mephiles himself will never exist. This plays a huge part for Sonic X Shadow Generations, both in-universe and out-of-universe. See, as we know in Sonic Generations, the Time Eater is pulling everything from Sonic's experience all in one place in time, via the white space, including past bosses like Perfect Chaos. Shadow Generations is no exception to this, because the Time Eater is pulling everything from Shadow's experience in one point in time, and bosses like Metal Overlord and the Bio Lizard. But wait, what's this mysterious cave in this rock? And why is the tone all of a sudden changing with the music? Oh man. Oh, hello. When the Time Eater pulled everything from Shadow's experience, I meant everything, except for the levels in this game, but you know, it's whatever. But isn't it weird how this boss gate is so well hidden amongst other boss gates where it's just out in the open? It's almost like this was intentional for no one to find the location of this boss gate. And I think it makes sense for Mephiles as a villain. He was a major threat in that game, if not the entirety of the series. You've seen what he was capable of. So if he was to be released, chaos would unveil. So the Time Eater placed his boss gate underground so no one will find it. And notice how his boss gate requires 4 keys instead of the usual 3. It's a small detail, but it shows how much of a threat Mephiles truly is. When the cutscene of the boss fight began, you see Shadow approaching the scepter that he sealed Mephiles in. Shadow looked confused, not knowing what this thing is. Now keep in mind, the events of 06 never happened, meaning this is the first time he saw this thing. The moment the scepter breaks, the purple ooze surrounds Shadow, and underground, Mephiles appears, trying to surprise attack Shadow by using the same move he killed Sonic with. He was trying to kill Shadow for his revenge. This is why the events of 06 never happening is taking a toll on Mephiles. Before the release of Sonic X Shadow Generations, me and Miguel Must Nerd was having a discussion, and he predicted that Mephiles was trapped in a pocket universe, and in order for SEGA and Sonic Team to keep 06 from not being canon, then Shadow would not know who Mephiles was. And wouldn't you know it, he was right, because Shadow has no idea who or what this guy is. He just sees him as just another obstacle in his way to defeat. What about Mephiles himself? Well, these were his first words.
I will and restore myself to the timeline.
And after that, he said this.
I overreached.
What you're talking about? But I will crush you all the same.
Forget about me again.
He said the exact same lines back in 06 during his first encounter, but Shadow doesn't care because since 06 isn't canon, he doesn't know who he is. This gets Mephiles pissed off at Shadow because it seems like he's pretending to not remember him. As Shadow does more and more damage to Mephiles, he turns from anger to desperation with both his dialogue and the way he fights Shadow. He isn't playing around anymore and trying to do everything to restore himself to the timeline. Once again, he pulled out the same clones from 06. That didn't work, so he pulled out his giant form. That also didn't work. But as Shadow uses Chaos Control to land a kick on Mephiles, he's weakened. And this line was the whole point on why I made this video. No, I want to exist. This line didn't make me feel bad for Mephiles because at the end of the day, he's a scumbag. But I just feel sorry for him. Because you think in 06, he was always calculating, always 2 steps ahead, having the upper hand. But here, he doesn't have the upper hand. He's desperately trying to escape this pocket dimension that he's in order to be restored to the main timeline. You can hear it in the tone of his dialogue and the way he's trying to kill Shadow. Everything in this boss fight is narratively driven. After that final line, Shadow lands a final blow and Mephiles is sealed once again in the scepter and says this.
There is no future for you. Ever.
There really is no future for Mephiles if you think about it. That line where he says he wants to exist is poetic. The events of 06 doesn't exist. Therefore, Mephiles the Dark doesn't exist in the main timeline, both in-universe and out-of-universe by SEGA and Sonic Team. There is no heaven or HE double hockey sticks. He's not alive or dead. He simply just doesn't exist. He's forever trapped in the infinite limbo, sealed inside the scepter. This was SEGA and Sonic Team's way of giving Mephiles one more time to be in the series before being shut away again inside the vault. And that is the tragic fate of Mephiles the Dark. If you guys made it to the end and enjoyed this video, make sure to give this video a huge thumbs up. And also, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. And make sure to follow my socials as well. With that being said, have a good day, have a good night, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace!